Welcome to the Mycitizenagency channel. Moving to the European Union isn't just about choosing a country, a city, and a route. Very often, the success of the entire process depends on how far in advance and how carefully you've prepared your documents. It's precisely this stage, the paperwork, that many people underestimate. They tend to think, I'll get it together when I need it. But in practice, some certificates take weeks to process. Some documents need to be translated, certified, and apostilled. And a single typo can delay your application or lead to a rejection. In this video, we'll break down which documents you should prepare in advance for moving to the EU, even if you're still just choosing a country or type of visa. The first thing to understand is that requirements vary across EU countries. However, there is a basic set of documents that will almost always come in handy. It's worth gathering these in advance because many documents have expiration dates and require translation, notarization, or certification. And some certificates and duplicates can be difficult to obtain quickly, especially if you're already abroad. In addition, preparing documents isn't just about gathering the originals. It's important to check in advance whether the information matches across all documents: first name, last name, dates, place of birth, and spelling in the Latin alphabet. Even a small mistake or a different spelling of your last name can lead to additional questions and delays during the application process. Another important point is timing. Sometimes the opportunity to move arises unexpectedly. An employer is ready to make an offer, a university sends an invitation, registration for applications opens, or suitable dates become available at the consulate. In such moments, the person who already has their documents gathered and in order has the advantage. The main goal of preparation isn't just to have a folder with papers, but to be ready to apply quickly when a suitable reason for moving arises. The sooner you start, the less likely the process will stall due to a single missing certificate, an expired document, or an unfinished translation. Let's start with the most obvious, the passport. This is the primary document that kicks off almost any relocation process. The first thing you need to do is check your passport's expiration date. For many immigration procedures, it is important that the document is valid not only at the time of application, but also for several months after the expected date of entry or the expiration date of your future residence permit. If your passport is nearing its expiration date, it's best to renew it in advance. Don't wait until your application is scheduled and your tickets are already purchased. Replacing your passport at the last minute can disrupt your entire relocation schedule. Also, prepare your basic personal documents in advance: ID card, birth certificate, and documents regarding a name change, marriage, or divorce. These documents are often required when filing family applications, confirming kinship, or registering after entry. If you are moving with your family, check each family member's documents separately. Children must also have valid passports, birth certificates, and if necessary, additional consents or proof of parental rights. Special attention should be paid to the condition of the documents. If an old-style certificate is damaged, difficult to read, or contains corrections, it's best to check in advance whether a duplicate can be obtained. Immigration procedures often require documents to be in good condition, free of disputed information, and without unclear markings. If there are different spellings of a first or last name in the documents, it's best to resolve this before submission. Discrepancies in transliteration, different dates, or even a single extra letter can lead to additional questions, delays, and the need to provide explanations. Therefore, basic personal documents are not just a formality. They are the foundation of the entire process, and the sooner you verify their validity, the smoother your preparations for the move will be. The next section covers documents regarding marital status. This is particularly important if you are moving not alone but with a spouse, children, or if you plan to apply for family reunification. In this case, prepare the following in advance: a marriage certificate, children's birth certificates, divorce documents, if applicable, documents regarding a name change, custody documents, consent from the other parent if the child is moving with only one parent. For family-based applications, these documents are often crucial. It is based on these that immigration authorities verify kinship, family ties, and the right of family members to move with the primary applicant. They may be requested both at the initial stage and after entry. For example, when registering an address, applying for health insurance, enrolling a child in school or kindergarten, opening a family insurance policy, as well as when renewing a residence permit. It is important to check in advance that the information in all family documents matches. Surnames, dates of birth, places of birth, spelling of first names, and information about parents must be stated correctly. If there are discrepancies in the documents, it is better to resolve them before submission rather than when time is already limited. Special attention should be paid to situations where the family is not moving in its entirety. For example, if a child is traveling with only one parent, additional consent forms, documents regarding parental rights, court orders, or proof of guardianship may be required. Requirements depend on the country of citizenship, the country of entry, and the specific family situation. Also, keep in mind that family documents often require translation, notarization, or an apostille. Moreover, the rules may vary depending on the EU country and the type of procedure. In some places, a translation is sufficient, while in others, a legalized document is required. Therefore, it is best to gather all family status documents in advance. This will help avoid delays, additional requests, and situations where a single missing document holds up the entire family's move. If you plan to study, work in your profession, or have your qualifications recognized in the EU, gather your educational documents in advance. This is especially important for students, professionals with higher education, healthcare workers, engineers, teachers, lawyers, and representatives of other professions where qualifications must be officially recognized. For some professions, especially regulated ones, a diploma alone is not enough. You may need proof of qualifications, a description of the curriculum, the number of course hours, a list of subjects studied, proof of practical training, work experience, professional certificates, and official translations. If you are considering relocating for work, educational documents may be required not only by the employer, but also by the immigration authority, professional association, or agency responsible for recognizing qualifications. Sometimes, the presence of a properly issued diploma and its supporting documents is what determines whether you can obtain a work permit or apply for a specific position. For students, educational documents also play a key role. An educational institution may request a high school diploma, college diploma, academic transcript, statement of purpose, proof of prior education, and translations of documents into the country's language or into English. If some documents are not ready, the admission process or application for a student residence permit may be delayed. Therefore, it is best to make high-quality scans of all documents in advance, check for any required attachments, and clarify the requirements for apostille, notarization, or certified translation. If a document is missing, you will have time to request a duplicate rather than having to resolve this issue at the last minute before submission. A very important category is documents confirming professional experience and financial stability. For many immigration procedures, it is important to demonstrate not only what you do, but also that your experience, income, and employment status are clear and supported by documentation. Your employer, the immigration authority, or the agency reviewing your application may request proof that your experience aligns with your future position. Therefore, it is important to gather documents in advance that demonstrate your professional history, where you worked, for how long, in what role, what responsibilities you performed, and what results you achieved. If you plan to move as a self-employed professional, entrepreneur, or remote worker, prepare proof of income in advance. This can include bank statements, tax documents, client contracts, invoices, revenue reports, business registration documents, statements from professional platforms, or proof of regular payments. Many EU countries want to see not only the fact of income itself, but also its regularity, legality, and sufficiency to cover living expenses. A one-time deposit into an account usually looks less convincing than a stable financial history spanning several months or years. It is also important that the source of income is clear. If the money comes from clients, an employer, a business, or projects, it's best to prepare documents in advance that explain this. This is especially relevant for freelancers, business owners, consultants, IT specialists, creatives, and those who work with multiple clients. You should also prepare an up-to-date resume and portfolio. Even if they aren't required directly for the visa, they may be needed by an employer, consultant, university, partner, or when setting up a professional profile after you move. Bank statements will be useful for most immigration procedures. Typically, statements for the past few months are requested, but it's best to get your finances in order ahead of time. Separate personal and work-related income, keep proof of the fund's origin, and prepare bank statements in English or the language of the destination country, if the bank offers this option. You may also need tax returns, tax payment certificates, proof of no outstanding debts, or business registration documents. This is especially relevant for entrepreneurs, freelancers, investors, and those applying through income-based programs. The main recommendation is not to wait until the last minute to prepare your financial documents. If the statement shows a sudden one-time deposit without an explanation, the immigration authority may have questions. It is better to prepare supporting documents in advance. One of the documents that is often required is a certificate of no criminal record. It is important to order it in advance because processing times may vary. Additionally, the certificate usually has a limited validity period. This means that applying for it too early isn't always the right approach either. It's best to clarify the specific country's requirements in advance. What validity period is accepted, whether an apostille is required, if a translation is needed, and whether an electronic version or only a paper original is accepted. If you have lived in several countries, you may be asked to provide certificates from each country of residence for a specific period. This is one of those details that is best to clarify in advance, because obtaining such documents from abroad can take a long time. In most cases, health insurance may be required. Sometimes travel insurance is sufficient for the initial period, while other times long-term insurance that meets the specific country's requirements is needed. It is also helpful to prepare medical documents in advance, records of chronic conditions, prescriptions, vaccination certificates, documents for children, and certificates for school or university. If you take medication regularly, check the rules for importing it and the availability of generic equivalents in your destination country. Not all medications can be freely transported or purchased without a prescription. A separate, important step is preparing documents for use abroad. In many cases, a simple copy is not enough. A document may require an apostille, notarization, a certified translation, or a translation by an accredited translator. It is important not to proceed blindly here. One country may accept a notarized translation, while another may only accept a translation done by a local certified translator. In some places, the apostille is affixed to the original document, in others, to a notarized copy. Therefore, before spending money on translations and certifications, you need to check the requirements of the specific country and the specific procedure you plan to use. But the original documents themselves, their duplicates, and high-quality scans should be prepared in advance. A very useful practice is to create a digital folder for your move. It will help you quickly find the necessary documents, send them to specialists, upload them to online forms, and avoid wasting time when a file is urgently needed. Make high-quality scans of all key documents. It's better to use a scanner or a dedicated scanning app rather than regular phone photos. The document should be flat, legible, and free of shadows, glare, cropped corners, and extraneous objects in the frame. Organize your documents into categories: personal documents, family, education, work, finances, taxes, medical records, housing, and insurance. If you're moving with your family, it's helpful to create separate folders for each family member, with subfolders inside organized by document type. It's best to name files clearly: passport, marriage certificate, diploma, bank statement, criminal record check. Don't store everything as photos with unclear names. This creates chaos when you need to submit documents. It's hard to tell which is the original, which is the translation, which is the old version, and which is the final file for upload. Also, make a backup in secure cloud storage and on a separate storage device. It's best to password protect the folder and not store important files in just one place. When moving, you may need documents unexpectedly. When submitting your application, at the border, when renting a place, opening a bank account, enrolling a child in school, getting insurance, or registering at your place of residence. A well-organized digital folder saves time, reduces stress, and helps keep the entire process under control. Now, a brief look at common mistakes that can delay preparation or complicate the application process. The first mistake is starting to gather documents after the application deadline has already been set. For example, when a consulate appointment has been scheduled or an invitation has been received from an employer or university. In such a situation, even a single missing document can derail the entire process. The second mistake is to have documents translated without checking the requirements of the specific country. In some cases, a notarized translation may suffice. In others, a sworn translator, an accredited specialist, or a translation done in the country of application is required. Therefore, it is important to clarify the rules first and only then pay for translations and certifications. The third mistake is forgetting about expiration dates. Some documents are only accepted for a limited period. If you prepare them too early, they may expire by the time of submission. If you wait too long, you may not have enough time to obtain, translate, or certify the document. The fourth mistake is failing to verify that names, dates, and transliterations match. Different spellings of your first or last name in your passport, diploma, marriage certificate, or bank documents can raise additional questions. It's better to identify such discrepancies in advance and determine whether they need to be corrected or if you need to prepare an explanation. The fifth mistake is keeping documents only in paper form or only on your phone. Paper originals are important, but high-quality digital copies are often required for submissions, consultations, and online forms. And photos in your phone's gallery can easily be lost, accidentally deleted, or mixed up. Another common mistake is assuming that documents can be gathered along the way. This doesn't always work in immigration processes. Sometimes appointment slots are limited, processing times depend on the completeness of the application package, and a follow-up request from the agency can take weeks. Therefore, the best approach is to compile a personalized list of documents in advance, check the requirements of your chosen country, and organize everything into a clear system: originals, copies, translations, certifications, and digital versions. This helps avoid chaos and makes the process go more smoothly. Documents for moving to the EU are the foundation of the entire process. The sooner you get your personal, family, educational, employment, and financial documents in order, the more smoothly and quickly you'll be able to move through the next stages. The smartest approach is to start with a basic check: passport validity, availability of originals, family documents, diplomas, proof of income, bank statements, and a criminal record check. Only after that should you select a specific country, determine the basis for your move, and understand the requirements for translation, certification, and submission. If you're planning to move to the EU and want to understand exactly which documents you need for your immigration, submit a request for a free consultation via the link in the description. We'll review your situation, create a personalized immigration plan, and prepare a complete set of documents to successfully obtain citizenship in one of the EU countries. We work on a one-on-one basis, taking into account your goals, your lifestyle, and your specific situation. Thank you for watching this video. If you're interested in this topic, subscribe to the channel and feel free to ask questions in the comments. We regularly publish program reviews, answer frequently asked questions, and share important news about immigration law and life in the EU. Your journey to Europe begins with the first step. Mycitizenagency is here for you every step of the way.